Okay, I've just started recording, and there's a little bit of feedback right now, but hopefully it won't be too much of a big deal. I'm not sure why I can't hear you through Roll20 right now, but we'll just keep Messenger on in the background, I guess. So you can see everything right
Okay, you
now,
can still
correct?
hear. Um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And so, do you remember what happened last time? Can you give me like a little summary of what went on?
Yes. So Lester and Claudia had solved the case of the raging orangutan, and they had retired to their chambers. And Lester uh, found a dart, if I remember right, embedded in the fur of the ape, and he took it back with.
Yeah. So he took it back with him, and now it is the following morning. Some time has passed, and Lester awakens in his little office, the LeFoe Detective Agency. And so I'm going to try putting on music. Hopefully, the feedback won't be too crazy. Let's see.
I can hear it fine.
Okay. So you awaken the next day in the LeFoe Detective Agency, and this is your little office that you maintain. It's full of lots of cluttered junk. As you can see, there's lots of remnants of your father's professional adventures all over the place. Lots of papers, lots of chests, lots of flasks, lots of detective stuff. So what do you want to do? You can move yourself around and basically do whatever you want. It's the early morning. It's like maybe 7 in the morning right now.
Okay. Uh, why is there a purple octopus over there? I'd like to pick up that octopus.
That is basically a stuffed octopus. It's like a fancy
Oh, okay.
decoration for the office. It's a stuffed octopus, and that is actually hanging right above the door that leads outside. You can also move yourself around. Try moving yourself around just to make sure that Roll20 is working okay. Let me just give you the capabilities to do that. Let's see. All right, I'm going to give you the ability to move yourself around. Let's see. You are controlled by Joshua Blum. Okay. All right, you should be able to move yourself now. Try moving yourself around.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
I'd like to warm my hands by this fire, or whatever this thing is.
Yeah, it's a nice big warm fire. It's 7 in the morning. You've woken up from a nice cold evening, and so you're warming your hands by the fire, looking out the window, and you can see that people are starting to wake up and get to work outside, and another new day is beginning in Tartec.
Oh, can I get something to eat?
Claudia usually comes in the morning around like 7:20 and brings you takeout from outside, so you have some time to kill before she shows up.
Oh, okay. What about I don't know, Lester? Do you think he has to urinate?
He already urinated on the upstairs. Then he came down from the stairs. He already took care of his morning
Oh,
business. You're
all of
dressed. You're dressed and ready for work.
oh, ready for work. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Oh, well, I think I'll sit down in my chair here.
Yeah. Sit down on your chair. Um, Now, if you remember, you can pull out your character sheet. Actually, um, I'll show it. I'll show it to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you take a look at your character sheet on the side, um, and then if you click on the little bio tab, you can see a
Yeah.
list of stuff that you own. And for treasure right here, I'm just gonna make a note of that little blowgun dart that you picked up last night. You should be able to edit this sheet yourself. You can type stuff in. So yeah, remember
Okay.
you can always keep track of what you found. And you do have this mysterious blowgun dart that you retrieved from the body of the orangutan last night. And if you want to, you can examine it, or you can try to figure out figure out if there's anything to be discerned from the dart using the chemistry components you have around the lab.
Yeah. Yeah, let's examine it first. Let's look at it.
Okay. So you pull out, kind of a miniature chemistry kit that you have in the lab, and the chemistry kit has kind of like a like uh, a microscopic device as part of it, as well as a few beakers with chemicals just to test out the acidity of things. So what will you do?
Um, Maybe take a small sample from the tip of the dart and then examine it a little bit more closely under like a magnifying glass.
Okay, so you magnify the sample from the dart, and basically you can see that whatever liquid the dart was coated in, it's kind of like a dull greenish color, um, and when you examine it closely under the microscope, you can tell that it seems to have reacted with the tissue that you took from Olivia the orangutan's body. It seems to have reacted in a very fierce kind of way, and created a very hot, sizzling sort of reaction.
Uh, Okay. Are there any reference books in his library there, in Lister's library, that talk about like poisons and things like that?
Yeah,
I
well,
can
there is a whole
look up on?
shelf of books. There's a whole shelf of books to your. I guess it would be your right, but Lester's left, and so you can go take a look and leaf through if you want.
So somewhere over here.
Yeah. So this is Lester's not so very well maintained library. It's got a lot of junk spread throughout the shelves, a lot of old books. It's got a copy of J. Owlsworth's Adventures of the World, written by a mysterious fellow that appears to have exaggerated every other paragraph. Um, a lot of dusty, a lot of dusty old reference works, and you can flip through and look for information on poisons, and you find a lot of information on kind of general poisons, general venoms. You don't find anything in particular on this one particular greenish kind of venom that seemed to react fiercely when applied to an orangutan's skin.
Uh, well, can we take a small sample and test it with a few different reagents we have in the kit?
Yeah, sure.
See if it
So
reacts with any of those things?
yeah, so if you take a look at the side of the screen here, you have a couple different bottles, and one of the bottles has a bee in it, uh, a bee that you caught in flying around the office the other day. And so if you want to, you can use that as a live sample, or you can also
Huh.
use a sample of your own skin to see how the poison might react to it.
Okay. Um, well, I guess probably my own skin would probably be easier, but probably less safe. So let's, why don't we, I guess we could try, we don't have any other living things here, right? How about a
You
plant?
just
Any
you
plants?
just you just have a bee. Oh, you do have plants. Yeah, you do have some plants that you have lying around.
Yeah, maybe let's try one of those first.
Okay. So you pull out some plants. These are like kind of like herbs that you bought, just like random green things that you bought. And how are you gonna do it?
I guess take a maybe take a small sample of like scrape a little bit of the stuff off the dart, and then touch that to the plant. See what happens.
Okay, so you do a little bit of scraping, and then you put it on the plant, and then you step back to wait. Actually, nothing happens when you put it on the plant.
Okay.
So thus far,
Is there
thus
any?
far you've determined that this stuff seems to react adversely to the skin of Olivia the orangutan, but doesn't do anything to a plant.
Good point. Do you have any other chemicals that you can use as tests? Test like test reagents like in that chemistry set? Are there any chemicals that you can use to see what reacts with it?
You have a vial of blood, human blood, actually. Yeah, you you purchased it from a shady-looking man in a pub the other day who was selling off substances that were supposedly extracted from a vampire, even though vampires don't exist. So you have a small vial of human blood. You're not exactly sure which
Okay.
human it came from, but it is a vial of human blood. You figured that as a detective, it always is best to be prepared for the worst possible opportunities. So you decided to pick it up
Okay.
and toss it into your stash of random odds and ends.
Sounds good. How about do you have, are there any metals like copper or silver or anything like that?
You have gold coins, obviously strewn about the the lab, and you have a few copper well, you have a few like large copper deposits. Um, like you can see them kind of. Well, it kind of looks more like a diamond, but you can see them lying on the shelves.
Okay. Can you try touching it to those different metals?
Okay. You touch the copper, the copper deposit to the poison, it actually doesn't do anything. And then you touch the gold to the poison as well, and it doesn't do anything to those either.
Okay. And no silver?
No silver. No, you do not have silver at the moment.
O- Okay. All right. Well, let's. What about to the bone? Like it looks like there's a couple skulls there.
Yeah, okay. So you this is a huge ornamental skull that your father purchased. Your father likes to well, when he was still alive, he liked to tell the story of how he slew a gigantic beast, a dragon beast, and then got this stone from it. But you know that he merely purchased it from a flea market in the south in Tartec Lowtown. So you can try putting the stuff on the skull.
Okay. Let's do that.
Okay. So you put the stuff on the skull, and once again, nothing happens. So,
Okay.
thus
All
far, you
right.
managed to establish, obviously, that it only seems to have some kind of effect on Olivia, the orangutan's skin. None
Okay.
of these organic materials. Well, the
Well,
plant as well. It didn't have any effect on the plant.
the plant. Yeah. I didn't try the blood yet.
Yeah, you can try the blood if you want.
Okay. And then why don't we pour a little bit of the blood out and then dip it in that?
Oh, okay. So you pour out some drops of the blood, and as you notice, as you pour out drops of the blood, you also notice that this concoction that you bought from that shady-looking guy, it's kind of got pieces of, like flecks of skin in it too, and you start to worry about exactly where this stuff came from. But you bought it from a guy like a few days ago, and so as you pour out the blood on your little lab kit, some flecks of human skin are also in the mixture as well. And as the poison touches the human skin, then you can see a reaction. You can see a slight sizzling reaction, and then the skin actually grows bluish in color.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then the color of the skin flecks are like floating in the blood. The color of the blood around the skin also seems to kind of lessen in color as well. It seems like there's almost like a change in temperature that happens when this poison reacted with the human skin flecks.
Okay. Gotcha. Huh.
So, what I would recommend is you actually make a note of this, maybe, on your character sheet, just so you remember it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Here.
If you have any trouble doing it, let me know.
I can put it in the treasure section, right?
Yeah, treasure section is fine, yeah. You can just write like a little parenthesis so you don't forget. It shows up okay for you, right? You're able to type it in?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then, yeah, nice. Reacts to human skin, turns dark and hot. Yeah, well, actually, it turns it first sizzles and then it turns cold. Actually, that's a better description. Like it turns the entire skin
Okay.
cold and kind of like icy, almost as if it kind of like sucked away all the temperature.
I was gonna say it sounds a little bit like silver nitrate, but
A little bit, yeah, it could be. Yeah, very good. Okay, and so actually, now if you go to the top of your character sheet and then click on core, you go back to your core sheet, and actually, you actually have earned a few experience points last night because you solved the case of the outraged orangutan, and you can say that you did not touch her at all. You did not damage the poor orangutan at all. So you
Right.
get 100 experience points, and so I'll just pop that in for you. You're at 1,000 experience points right now, and
yeah.
you're
Okay.
currently level 3, and I think you need to hit like, I don't know, like I forget the number you need to hit in order to reach level 4, but you're still a ways away from that now. All right.
Yeah.
So you've done a little bit of chemistry work in the morning, and it's about 7:15ish. Anything else you want to do?
Did you say that there was hair, like anything else that's on the blowgun dart?
Well, no.
Yeah,
I mean, the
tissue.
blowgun dart was basically you extracted like tissue samples from Olivia the orangutan, so like fur, skin, stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Actually, could you do the same thing? So can you touch the dart to one of those samples, like the skin sample?
Okay, so you touch the poison from the dart onto the skin sample that came from Olivia the orangutan, okay? And now what happens is it seems to have an effect opposite of what you saw when you touched it to the human skin. Instead of growing cold, the whole thing starts to light up and seems to grow very hot to the touch.
Oh, okay.
So it seems to be
And does the
it
same
seems to
thing
be like
happens?
it seems to be the complete opposite effect. Like there's sort of a sizzling that happens, and then the whole skin grows warm, extremely, extremely warm.
Huh. That's weird. Something about the orangutans.
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
about that
I wonder if-
orangutan physiology, perhaps.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you have in mind?
Let me see. I was going to just make note of that in my little
Sure.
sheet here. Um, hmm. I think we should save that dart and then find a way. Is there someone I know of that can tell me more about like what that might be? That stuff might be like
Yeah.
like wizards or chemists or people like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, you can go and see your father's old friend William the Wizard. Potentially, he might be able to tell you.
Oh,
He might be able to tell you a little bit more
okay.
about it. He actually resides in Tartec Castle, and you haven't seen him in, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But he used to be quite an old buddy of your old man's.
Sounds good. That'd be a good thing to do. All right. I
All
will
right.
plan to do that.
All right. So you're making your plans, going about your stuff, your preparations, and then actually the door opens and Claudia pops out.
Ah,
Yeah, and so she opens and closes the door, and then in her hand she's got her, the her takeout that she's brought for you, a morning sandwich that she procured from Lura's Square, a cucumber sandwich, your favorite because you like the color green. And so she hands it to you, and she says, "Morning, Lester. How's everything?"
good morning. It is good. Thank you for breakfast. I just examined the dart from the orangutan that we found last night.
Interesting. And what'd you find?
Oh, interestingly enough, it seems to react to both human and orangutan skin, but in different ways.
What do you
So
mean
I'd
in
like to
different
take it
ways?
to, well, in a human skin, or I'm not sure if it's human, but in orangutan skin it becomes hot, and with, I'm assuming it's human, something I have in this bottle, it becomes the opposite, cold, and so I'm not actually sure what's in this bottle, but I'd like to take it to William, the wizard, and in the castle to examine it a little bit further. Something is fishy here. I'm thinking that someone did something to the orangutan.
Claudia takes the little vial of like human blood and flecks of human skin and then shakes and is like, "Lester, this isn't yours, is it?"
No, not mine.
Where'd
Don't
you,
ask.
where'd you get it from? What do you do with blood, Lester? It's not good. It's not good of you to be walking around carrying blood. And then she walks around the place as well, and she's like, "Oh, look at this place. It's a mess. You need to tidy. Lester, why do you have a bee in a bottle?" And then she's looking at the disrepair of the shelves and stuff like that. Claudia often helps to tidy up the place because you've never really been one for maintaining proper decor or cleanliness, and your old man wasn't exactly either. And so she's doing her best to like clean up the place a little bit before you begin to set out. And then, if you remember about Claudia, she also has a pet lamb that she keeps in like a magical bag of
Yeah.
holding. And so the lamb actually pops out, Hubert the lamb, and then he starts doing what he usually does, which is munch on papers throughout your office. And so this is another reason why it's never that clean. You have a lamb running around munching on stuff. Okay.
Uh, okay. Why don't I'm going to interrupt what they're doing. Is like, okay, guys, why don't we just, we can do this anytime. We can take stuff off the shelves and look at it and put it on the floor and do all that kind of stuff later.
Claudia
Let's
picks
go.
Claudia picks up some random books on the shelf and is like, "Where did this come from?" And then she puts it down on the ground. Claudia's like, "Where did
It's
we
not
get
helping my
this?
organization.
Where's the purple octopus from? Sorry, Lester, you're just such a mess."
One of these days, I'll have to task you with the goal of organizing this mess. But that's for another day.
Alright, fair enough. Where are we off to then, Lester? What's on the agenda for
We
today?
are off to the castle. We're going to the castle to see William the Wizard.
Oh, William the Wizard. Very good. So you guys are about to head out the door, and then actually there's a loud knock, like a loud knock on the door.
Oh, come in.
Okay, the door comes open, and then lo and behold, you see. Wait for it to load.
It's the fuzz.
He hasn't loaded for me yet. Ah, here we go. It is one of the boys in blue. Claudia runs behind you, and she's like, "Cops! I don't like the cops." So, it is one of the Tartec police. He looks at you up and down and then says, "Are you Lester LeFoe of the LeFoe Detective Agency?"
Yes, I am.
Good. Your presence is requested at the castle. There's been a circumstance that a discrete circumstance that requires looking into, and your services have been recommended to us.
Oh, well, that's very convenient, officer. I have to go there anyway.
All right, follow me, and no lollygagging. We need to get there fast. So he exits the office, and you gonna follow him?
Yep.
All right. So you guys head out as well, following the officer.
Oh, no. Screen thing popped up. Yeah. All right, there we go.
Okay, and so basically this is what it looks like on the outside of your street. Can you see that right now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Let me know when it finishes loading for you.
Let's see the inside of his office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can move.
It will... Alright, here we go. And it should load for you now.
Okay, yeah. It's, yeah, I can see the outside.
Yeah. Alright. And so you step on out in the middle of One Willow Avenue, and then obviously it's a bright and cold day in Tartec, and people are out and about doing things. And if you look on the side here, you can see a middle-aged woman, and that's Mother Methany Ann, who runs the boarding house that Claudia stays at. So basically, the whole house, this area right here, is your office, the LeFoe Detective Agency. Okay.
Okay.
And then this house here, this is a boarding house for women, run by the one and only Mother Methany Ann. And so, as you guys begin to walk to the left in order to follow the Tartec police officer, Claudia here waves to Mother Methany Ann over here, and Mother Methany Ann waves back and says, "Hello, Lester."
Good morning.
Alright. And the Tartec police is like, "No lollygagging, come on this way." Alright. And so you guys are just going to follow him. You might come back here afterwards and be able to talk to these people afterwards. And so you guys follow him. And we are on the main map now. Alright?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you guys are going to make your way up to... make your way up like this, up through Lowtown. You can see the trail, right?
Yeah.
Yep, you guys are making your way up through Lowtown, and then you cross the drawbridge leading towards the castle. And then as you are going, you can actually see some of the signs of the orangutan Olivia's rampage through the streets the other day. She destroyed a lot of boxes and knocked over some some painters' stalls, and it's strewn about some garbage. A lot of collateral damage. So good job bringing her in last night. All right. And so you guys make your way up towards Tartec Castle, the home of the one and only King Darian IV. You make your way into the castle walls and past the rows of guards that stand by the entrance. And then the guard begins leading you up a long flight of stairs. You're not going to the throne room. It appears you're going somewhere else. It appears you are going to King Darian's personal chambers.
Interesting.
Alright, now, one interesting thing. As you begin walking through the castle, you suddenly start to hear the sounds of music. It is King Darian's national anthem that he has composed for himself in order to celebrate his glorious immortality. And you recall that some time ago, King Darian's science division discovered an old technology known as a loudspeaker that they reverse engineered and placed throughout the castle in order to play the sounds of the national anthem every other day. And so, as you walk through the castle, you hear the imperial sounds of the song, "All Hail the Immortal King Darian." It sounds vaguely communistic. Alright, so you're going to Tartec Castle. Alright, has the screen loaded for you?
Yes. I recognize some of these people.
Yes. Well, you recognize them, but Lester might not. So,
Yeah.
the guard leads you up to the steps of an ornate-looking door, and then he does an about-face and then exits, walking back down the stairs. And I'm just going to give you the ability to control yourself. 1 second. Controlled by Joshua Blum. Alright. Alright, and then you see two women standing in front of the door, blocking your way. And they say, "Who are you lot?"
I'm Lester LeFoe. I was summoned here, apparently.
Claudia turns to you and whispers, "It's King Darian's Imperial Rangers! His all-female brigade! I thought it was against the law for men to have an all-female brigade in this city."
No, not for him.
Not for him indeed. And so the Imperial Rangers open the door and let you in, so feel free to enter. Alright. So you enter, and this appears to be King Darian's personal chambers. Alright? So, you have our lovely King Darian IV, leader of Tartec, right here, in all of his majesty.
Oh, okay.
He looks a little
Right there,
disheveled this morning. He's wearing his kingly robes and his crown, but he looks disheveled and nervous. Okay? And then over here, you see two men dressed in kind of Tartec guards uniforms, and you recognize one of them, this fat guy with the beard right here. 1 second, I'm going to reveal something to you. You recognize this fellow here as the one and only Captain Smalldong, head of the Tartec police. So I just shared his character entry with you.
This is Captain Smalldong, head of the Tartec police. I know him very well because he was only recently promoted at the last chief. Captain Stroker died last year from old age. Stroker was a great fan of my father, Smalldong. His perspective is to be amateur nuisances. I don't like him much either. The man seems like a buffoon. He's always barking up orders and telling everybody else scoring exploits. He's a veteran, 10-meter skirmishes and everything. Claudia, so the surname is probably very appropriate. Agree.
Yep. So the one and
Yes.
only Captain Smalldong, recently promoted, not really a fan of you. Um, thinks, private detectives are nuisances. So that's the one and only Captain Smalldong. And he appears to be arguing with King Darian and this fellow right here, this captain right here. And you can catch snippets of their conversation. You can hear Captain Smalldong saying, "Not to worry, my liege. It shall be solved promptly. No murderers will go free in my town if Captain Smalldong has anything to say about it." And then you can see this guy here kind of rolling his eyes and saying, "Ugh, Captain Smalldong, you couldn't find your way out of a paper bag." And then you have King Darian pacing back and forth, looking extremely distraught, and says, "I don't care how you do it. Just find the culprits. Nobody must know of this, do you understand? Oh, I work with a bunch of insolent morons. What will I do if this leaks out to the press? My good name will be ruined. The name of King Darian the Fourth." And then Captain Smalldong says, "Not to worry, my king. Nobody has ever escaped the inquiring eye of the Smalldong." And so, you notice that all three of the men haven't exactly noticed you yet. Meanwhile, there appear to be two women on the sides here. And these two women, they're both wearing the green armor of the Tartec Imperial Rangers. And both of them are kind of letting the men do their stupid arguing over here. And they appear to be examining a body on the ground. You can see it right here with this big X on it. The X means that the guy is dead. Totally dead. Okay? It's a body on the ground,
Okay.
and they've kind of done a little chalk outline around him. They haven't moved the body yet. But it's a dead body, and there's blood leaking out from the back of the body. Okay? And so, what would you like to do?
I'd like to talk to the two women right there.
Which one would you like
The
to
one
talk
that's
to?
directly in front of me.
All right, the one directly
Let's
in
talk to
front
this
of you.
one.
Which one?
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
All
in
right, the
front.
one in front of you. The one in front of you turns and looks to you and says, "Who are you? How'd you get in here?"
My name is Lester LeFoe. I'm a private detective. I was summoned here, apparently.
"Ah, Lester." She says, "Captain Stenna of the Imperial Ranger Guard at your service." And then she turns to the woman next to her and says, "This is Esmeralda, but she prefers that people just call her E." And then Esmeralda looks at you and gives you a nod. And then they both
Nice
turn.
to meet you both.
They both turn and shout over at Darian, "King Darian, you have an esteemed guest here." And so King Darian finally notices you and comes over to you and says, "Ah, you are the private detective that William the Wizard speaks so highly of. Is that true? The great Mortimer LeFoe? Is that you?"
Well, people generally call me Lester, but yes, that's me, Your Highness, and this is my assistant, Claudia.
Claudia says, "Pleased to meet you, Your Highness," and she does a little curtsy. And then Hubert sticks his head out of the bag and does a ba. And then King Darian is like, "Oh my God, what kind of dog is that?" and then Claudia shoves Hubert back into the bag. And then King Darian is eyeing you kind of critically, and he's like, "Lester LeFoe, I asked for Mortimer. What happened to Mortimer? Why can't my people ever get names and details right around here? Why am I the only one who cares about facts and precision?" Feel free to talk.
Well, I'm sorry to inform you, Your Highness, that Mortimer, i.e. my father, is since passed on to the next realm.
Has passed
So
on
I've
to the
taken
next
over his
realm.
place.
Oh, well, that's That's a mighty shame, my boy. It's not something I can really relate to anymore. I don't know if you've heard, but I'm immortal. And then he kind of leans back on his plush chair here and looks very satisfied at himself. Captain Small Dog looks up at you, wanders over to you, and kind of gives you the once-over and says, Lester LeFoe, eh? Amateur detectives are not needed or welcome here. This is a job for the Tartec police force. And then you finally have Esmeralda, the ranger, and she comes over and says, Oh, will you stop, Captain Smalldong? Fill this man in. We've obviously asked him to come. You might as well tell him what the situation is. Then Captain Smalldong gives a very disparaging sound and says, All right, my king, if you need me, I shall be out in the city with my men, investigating and finding the culprit. And then he storms out of the room, pushing Claudia out of his way as he departs, and he makes his exit. Claudia whispers to you, What an asshole!
Yes, also trotting all over the evidence.
Pretty much, yes. He left kind of like boot prints all over what appears to be a trail of blood. Alright, so now, before we proceed, I want you to take a quick look at your character sheet. I just want to remind you of something. I've shown you your character sheet, okay? Now, if you go to the core section, and if you look down at your abilities, what does the last one say there under features and traits?
Eye for deceit.
Yeah. So, whenever Lester makes a wisdom and insight check to determine whether or not a creature, so creature is just general term applying to both enemy, friend, anything, okay? Whenever you make a check to determine whether a creature is lying, you can treat a roll of 7 or lower as an 8, okay? So, whenever you think someone's lying to you, just keep that in mind, alright?
Okay.
Alright. So, you lean back, and King Darian begins to describe what happened. He says, All right, Lester, now, I realize that this looks rather bloody and wrong, but there's a proper explanation for this, all right? And I want you to assure me that what you see here will remain discreet. Nothing is to leave this room. Do you understand? Under penalty of death, because I am king. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Very good. Well, as you can see, there appears to be a body here. I don't know where it came from or who it belongs to, but I was walking up to my kingly chambers this morning and suddenly found it lying on the rug here with blood everywhere, and as you can imagine, I was distressed. Who would dump a body in my kingly chambers? It's just the riffraff of this city are littering whatever these days. Not just content with papers and trash, they've begun tossing bodies. The sin in my kingdom needs to be cleansed. Bodies today, what next? And he leans back on his chair and looks very distressed. He says, I need a cup of coffee. Captain Dingus, get me my coffee. And then Captain Dingus is like, Your liege, I am not a servant. I am captain of your science division. And then King Darian's like, I don't care. I need me my coffee. Please, go and get it for me, Captain. And then Captain Dingus lets out a very deep sigh, as if this happens on a regular basis. Shakes his head and begins trotting out of the room in order to bring the king his morning brew of coffee. Alright? And so King Darian leans back on his chair and says, where do you think this body could have come from, my good friend Lester LeFoe?
Well, before your associate the good Captain Smalldong trod all over the trail of blood. It looked like it was leading out toward the edge of the room. Has anybody else been in this room aside from you fellows?
Um, Captain Stena and Captain Esmeralda nod and say that this morning, when the body was discovered, a whole bunch of Imperial Rangers were called to the scene, and then afterwards, Captain Smalldong and Captain Dingus were called to the scene as well. But prior to that, it was only King Darian. Then King Darian interrupts, saying, "It was me! I was the first one to discover the body. It was me, and it was only me. And I don't know who that is. I've never seen him before. Ever. Maybe. Ever. Ever. Ever.
Was he still alive, Your Highness?
No, he was very, very extremely dead. Give me a perception check. Pull up the dice menu and just roll a d20.
Okay.
All right, you rolled. Okay, I'm gonna take your first. Your first roll was an 18. I think you rolled it twice by accident.
Okay.
You rolled an 18. Okay. And you could see, you perceive that King Darian is fidgeting a little bit. And his eyes are darting around and about the room.
Can I use that? Oh, actually, before I do anything, what time? Do I know what time it is right now?
It is about, it's about almost 8 o'clock in the morning. So you woke up at about 7, and now it's about an hour has passed since waking up and then going to the castle. It's pretty early morning.
Okay. Yeah. And I'd like to ask King Darian what time did you discover the body?
King Darian fidgets some more and says, about maybe 15 minutes ago? What does it matter? Time is but a concept for one who is immortal. Where's my coffee? Dingus is taking so long.
Okay. I'd like to use that eye for deceit thing
All right.
that you had mentioned.
So do you think that King Darian is hiding something? Tell me why you want to use it.
There's something a bit suspicious about his behavior that suggests that there's probably a little bit more to the story.
All right.
That he maybe not telling.
All right. What can the king be hiding? All right. Roll me another d20. See if you can roll high. Oh, 17. Okay. You don't even need it. All right. So you roll very high, and your expert detective eye and your expert instincts can sense that King Darian here is, hiding a little something under the covers, so to speak. So what will you say in order to get him to tell the truth? You know that he's lying for sure. What will you say now?
Well, King Darian, it's been my experience that if a body has been lying still and essentially dead for a significant period of time, not only will it be stiff, but blood will start to pool on parts of the body that's facing the ground, essentially. And so, if this body was just discovered and was moving fairly recently, none of that would have happened.
So, what are you saying, my boy? Are you saying that the body was here for a long time?
I don't know. I'm going to ask your opinion of that. You were the first to see the person.
And he paces back and forth. Meanwhile, while this has been happening, okay, Claudia has kind of walked around to peer at the body, all right, while you've been talking. She's walked around to peer at the body, and you do notice that out of the corner of her eye, that as she looked down at the body, she made a little gasp, almost like a gasp of recognition. And then she wanders back to you and then says,
Lester, I know who this is. I've seen him before.
King Darian's like
Who do
pacing
you
back and
think it
forth.
is?
King Darian's pacing back and forth, fidgeting his thumbs. You have a second to talk to Claudia if you want to.
Yeah. Excuse me, Your Highness. I need to confer with my associate here.
Oh, very good. Speak with your riffraff. I'll be here waiting for my coffee if you need me. Okay, what do you want to ask Claudia?
All right. Yeah, who do you think it is?
All right.
Claudia leans into you and whispers, Okay, Lester, you know how I live at Mother Methany Ann's boarding house?
Yeah.
Well, you also know that this is no great secret, but Mother Methany Ann also is a bit of a... Well, she takes care of Tartec Lowtown's network of working men and women, if you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean, Lester?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, based
Yes.
on prior knowledge of the living arrangements, you know that Mother Ethany Ann, her boarding house is legitimate, but it's also the home to a whole bunch of prostitutes and gigolos, basically,
Sure.
who are very outlawed in Tartec and kind of need to operate under the radar. And so Claudia leans into you and whispers,
I've seen this guy before. His name, I think, is Hemingway something or other. And he's one of Mother Methany Ann's star gigolos. They call him Hemingway the Star Gigolo. I've seen him. He's really expensive.
Huh. Uh-huh. Does he have distinguishing features or anything like that? How did you recognize him?
Well, you can take a closer look at him yourself. Let me actually adjust this. Let me just adjust
Yeah.
the X.
Good idea.
And just get rid of the X to indicate that he's dead. You can take a closer look at him yourself. And the guy is like really, really, really handsome. And interestingly enough, I mean, he's almost fully... he's actually kind of pretty unclothed at the moment. Like his shirt, the buttons are all kind of like ripped open, so his chest is exposed, and the guy has like pectorals on top of pectorals. Okay.
Gotcha.
And he's wearing pretty fine clothes as well. Like it's a finely made, finely tailored shirt, and finely tailored trousers. The guy looks like he services pretty expensive clientele.
Yeah.
And he
Where's
is
the-
most
can I
assuredly
take-
dead.
Yeah. Where's the blood coming from?
Alright, so the blood appears to be coming from a few spots. There is a stab wound in his back. Okay, that's where the majority of the blood is coming from. But the other side of his body is also really heavily bruised, almost as if it was hit repeatedly. And he's got a bruise on his face as well, almost looking like he took a punch.
And he's lying on his back?
He's lying on his back. Yes.
Okay. And has like rigor mortis set in? Is like he's stiff basically, or is he still? Can you still move him?
You can still move him. Yeah. Rigor mortis has not set in yet.
Okay. And the the blood and stuff like that, does that look fairly fresh, or has it started to clot or anything like that?
It looks fairly fresh. Obviously, some of it has been damaged by Captain Smalldog tramping about, but otherwise, it does look fairly fresh.
Okay, gotcha.
So it looks as if the body was found fairly recently. So you know that King Darian might not necessarily be lying about that, but he might be lying about something
Okay.
else.
Okay. Um, and are there any other kind of discerning marks or things like that that you see on other parts of his body, like parts on his legs or other parts that may be clothed?
You can look at well, to tell me where specifically you're looking at. Remember, so he's got bruises. He's got a bruise on his face and a bruise on his side, a knife wound on his other side, and you can also look at his clothes if you want to.
Yeah, I'd like to look at his arms and his hands. If he put up his hands to defend himself, he'd probably have some bruises there on his arms and hands and stuff like that.
Yep. Okay, you can look at his hands. His knuckles are bruised. Yeah, his knuckles are bruised like he was putting up a fight.
Yeah. Does he have anything on his forearms or palms or anything?
Nothing on his forearms or palms. He's barehanded, basically. But he's got bruises there.
Okay. Is there anything on his skull?
Nothing on his skull. Okay? Nothing on his skull.
And anything on his legs?
Nothing on his legs. You do notice that as you're looking up and down his legs, his trouser zipper is open.
Of course it would be. Do you dare take a look down into his nether regions?
You can if you want to.
Well, might as well.
He is a well endowed young man. Claudia's like, let me see. I want to see. It's up to you if you want to let her or not, or if you feel like it's too delicate for youthful eyes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Is everything intact? Are there any injuries?
Everything's intact down there. No injuries down there. Yeah.
Okay. Including the backside?
Oh, including his butt, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the integrity of his nether regions has not been compromised.
Okay, gotcha.
King Darian's
And
looking
how does
increasingly
he-
uncomfortable as you go about this investigation.
Okay.
You
How
can hear him.
about his feet? Is he
You can
wearing
hear him
shoes?
saying, "Coffee, coffee. I need my coffee." Meanwhile,
How about
the
how
two
about the guy?
rangers are looking at you with interest because they can tell that you know what you're doing.
Yeah. How about the guy's feet? Is he
He's
wearing
wearing.
shoes, or is he?
Okay, so the interesting thing is, um, he is not wearing shoes. He is barefoot.
Hmm, no socks?
No socks either.
Huh. Are there? Is there a pair of shoes lying somewhere around the room?
Well, you can take a look. Walk around, take a look. Where do you think it might be?
I don't know. Maybe I'll ask Claudia. Claudia, would you mind looking around the room and seeing if you find a pair of socks and/or shoes?
Right away, Lester. And so she's going about to look. Okay, so what do you want to do
Yeah.
while she's speaking about?
I just like to look at the soles of his feet. I mean, is he have any cuts or blood or anything like that?
No cuts on his feet except for like some of the the blood coming out from his back wounds have kind of merged with the rug surrounding him and gotten a little bit on his feet, but otherwise it looks fine.
Okay. Any dirt?
No dirt. His feet are clean.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. And uh, can I pull out my little kit?
Yep. Yeah. So you have a detective kit. It's got a magnifying glass, lockpick, pliers, and a pair of scissors.
There's like you may have mentioned this last time, but there's like tweezers or
Yeah.
sample like
Tweezers
vial.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like to take a sample of the blood near the injury site, like the stab wound.
hmm Okay. As you look at the injury site, you see that the stab wound, the blood near the skin near the stab wound is sort of like a dull bluish color.
Huh. Dull bluish color. Yeah, I'd like to take a tissue sample.
All right. Make a note of that on your treasure sheet that you took a tissue sample there.
Yeah.
You can make a note of the color as well.
Okay, so let me see. Oh, that's good. Big old tissue sample.
Now, have you moved him yet? Have you attempted to move him or not?
No.
Okay. All right, let me know when you're ready. Yeah.
Okay, what's that? Um, so he's lying on his back, right? Okay. Yeah, to get a good to get the tissue sample, I think I would flip him over to the other side.
Okay, so
Can I get?
are you moving him to the left or the right? You're kind of rolling him over.
Yeah, rolling him over. Yeah.
Okay, and so
We'll roll him to the left because it looks like there's a bed there.
Okay, so you roll him over, and the two rangers help you. They help you roll him over.
Okay.
Placing him on the side here. Okay, and so underneath you see, kind of. That's the sort of the blood from his wound. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you see something else that he was actually sort of lying on top of. You see right here. I'm just going to draw a black shape to indicate it. You see one pair of brass knuckle dusters.
Interesting.
He'd actually fallen on top of them, it seems. And they're pretty distinct knuckle dusters too. The pattern is fairly ornate.
Oh, okay.
And you feel like you might actually have seen this pair of brass knuckles before, or at least the design, but you can't quite remember exactly where you've seen it before. But you feel like it's an elaborate design that you might have come across at one point.
Okay. And they're not on his hand.
No, they're not on his hand. He was actually lying on top of them. They had. It appears that he'd like fallen on them almost, or if they belonged to him, they'd somehow fallen off and then he'd collapsed on top of them if they belonged to him.
Okay. I'd like to take a sample of the blood, and then as far as the knuckle dusters, then just ask the guards if they recognize these.
You want to ask the two rangers, Esmeralda and Stena?
And E if they recognize them, or they've seen these before.
All right, so you ask the two ladies if you've seen them before, and Stena shakes her head. Meanwhile, Esmeralda seems to recognize them, and she leans down and peers closer at them, and then she says, "I've seen those before. I believe they're used by criminals in the Tartec territory of Neva. And so, give me a general give me a general intelligence check right now. Just roll a d20. I'm gonna see what your intelligence is. Okay, so it's very high. It's 18. All right, so intelligence. You know that the territory of Neva is one of the Tartec territories that's kind of near the border of the Great Desert, and it's been assimilated into the Tartec Empire over the last kind of like 20 years or so. And you know that King Darian's father, King Darian III, exerted like kind of a shaky claim over the region, like this territory is mine, but he never really enforced it. And so basically, there was very little law in that region of the world, and it was kind of filled with criminal gangs. There was a lot of crime going on, a lot of like, drug running, prostitution, gambling. And that territory of Neva is actually where the Gostantine crime family used to be in power. And you know that your father, Mortimer LeFoe, I'll show it to you, he played a pivotal role in dismantling the Gostantine crime family.
Okay.
And so yeah, Esmeralda says, yeah, this appears to be, the design is reminiscent of the ones I've seen from thugs out in Neva. Another thing you do know about Neva, based on your prior knowledge of the history of the world, is that in the last couple years, since Darian kind of consolidated his rule over the territories, crime has decreased in Neva, obviously, but also he's become welcoming in a lot of like Neva people into Tartec, kind of like refugees and people that want to make a new home in the capital city. And so there's been a lot of Neva people kind of walking around the city of Tartec recently. And they tend to be looked down upon by the regular Tartec locals, because obviously they come from a very crime-infested country, and so they tend to have trouble getting jobs. They tend to be discriminated against, and there's rumors that they're sort of involved in kind of shady dealings in Tartec Lowtown.
Okay. Well.
One more thing. One more thing. Claudia.
Oh, yeah.
Claudia comes up and says, "Lester, look what I found under the bed. A pair of shoes." And then King Darian's like, "Wait! Those are... No! What are you doing with my shoes, young lady? Give them back to me." And he grabs them and snatches them and tries to pull them away.
Huh. Let me just stop him for a second. Your Highness, if you just entertain us for a second, would you mind putting those on your feet?
King
Please.
Darian looks at you aghast and says, "You dare to ask your liege to exchange his footwear in front of you?"
Just humor me, my liege.
Ranger Esmeralda says, "King Darian, do it. I think we're onto something here." And King Darian grumbles and says, "Nobody trusts me." And then he sits down and then pulls his, he's wearing slippers, actually. He's wearing slippers at the moment. He pulls his slippers off and then tries to fit into the shoes. They seem to be 2 or 3 sizes too small for his pudgy-ass feet.
Thank you, King Darian. Now, would you mind placing them on...
the shoes here. Let's see.
Okay.
Just the shoes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Now, if you'll... I can take them, and I just want to try one thing.
Okay. What will you do?
And put them on the feet of the victim on the floor.
All right. So you take those shoes and you put them on the feet of the victim, and lo and behold, they're a perfect match.
Huh.
King Darian says, "I don't know how this happened. I must have bought those ages ago when I was younger and less immortal. Immortality tends to change one's physiology, if you know what I mean. as in feet,
Well, it
limbs,
sounds like,
footwear.
Your Highness, that you may need a new set of footwear.
Indeed,
A man of your stature should have
indeed.
shoes that.
Very, very observant of you, Mr. LeFoe. I understand why you are a true detective. He tries to pick up the shoes again, but actually Ranger Stenna stops him and stands in front and looks at him with a disapproving eye. Okay, so you've made. I'm gonna circle just the main connections that you've made so far.
Okay.
You've made the connection that the shoes here appear to belong to this guy. You've made the connection that this guy here appears to be a famous gigolo by the name of Hemingway that spent some time working for Mother Metheny Ann. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And you've rolled him over and noticed some things about his wounds, and you've noticed that there was a brass knuckle duster lying underneath here that revealed a lot based on the design. It appears to have come from Neva, or been used by someone from Neva. Right? And King Darian appears to be hiding something.
Well,
So it's up to you how you want to proceed, or if you want to ask anything.
yeah. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, would you mind, would you mind terribly, King Darian, if I hold on to the shoes? No.
Okay, so Ranger Esmeralda, I might have called her Stenna before by accident. Ranger E says, "All right, King Darian, let's leave it to this professional young here. He seems to know what he's doing. Let the man take the shoes, and we can discern how this body showed up here. That is why we're all here, isn't it?" And King Darian says, "Yes, absolutely. Very well. Take the shoes." So you've got the shoes now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. And then can I also take the, I have a place to put the, does like fingerprinting exist in this world? And all that kind of stuff?
Not really. The technology is not quite that advanced at this point.
Yeah, okay. Alright. But do I have a bag or something I can put the knuckle dusters in?
You got Claudia's bag of holding. You can hold everything.
Yeah. So if I could put the shoes and the knuckle dusters in her bag.
All right. I'll make a note of that on Claudia's sheet here. Remember, her bag of holding can hold up to 500 pounds. All it's got inside right now is Hubert. So I'm going to make a note. One knuckle duster from Neva, a territory of Tartec, and then one pair of gigolo boots. Okay?
Okay.
And Claudia's like, "You put the weirdest stuff in my bag, Lester."
Yeah. Well, probably gonna get weirder.
Clearing that stuff here.
Okay.
Let me just indicate where the blood was.
Yeah. Can I talk to the two rangers alone?
Yep. Sure. What do you want to say? I'll say that you want to talk with them alone. You wave for them to come to the side with you. And what do you want to say to them?
Yeah. Nope. So there's something fishy going on here. A few things that don't quite add up, and obviously puts our king in a odd, potentially dangerous position. How? I'm not sure who sent for me exactly, and how deeply you want me to probe, but how would you suggest that I proceed?
Alright, I'm going to change the music slightly. I'm going to put on the investigating music because you've been doing some serious investigation lately. All right.
There you go.
So, okay, so the Rangers look at you seriously and they say, well, actually, William the Wizard advised us to go to you, and he's not here at the moment because he left earlier this morning to go see off Wander the Wizard, who's preparing to go to a mage association meeting. But he told us that, he was a great friend of your father, and he said that you had similar skills. So he's the one that recommended you, and then we thought it would be alright to have some extra help here. Obviously, Captain Smalldong would rather see you not be here, and King Darian obviously doesn't really know what's going on right now. But if you have concerns, then tell us, and we can try to figure things out. We are his personal guard, so don't worry too much about insulting the king. We can always defuse a crazy situation before it gets out of control.
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously there's someone who's dead in his bedchambers. Someone who is fairly well known and paid handsomely for his services. It'd be unlikely that most people could afford someone of his, how shall we say, caliber. And so it seems a little suspicious that he would be here in the king's chamber and then murdered. It seems like. It also seems like this happened fairly frequently, and I don't know if the king has been framed or the king was part of it. In some way, it seems like he's covering something up. The fact that the whole shoes business is odd. Don't really know why that would be an issue, but it seems like there's more to it, and King Darian probably knows more than he's letting on. If I continue probing in this investigation, things might get a little ugly, and it's bad timing, especially since this is his big day.
Not his big day yet. It's still like 2 days to Immortality Day.
Oh, okay.
It's still 2
All right.
days.
Well, close.
Yeah, it's close to his big day.
Yeah.
All right. So both of them nod. They understand what you're saying, and actually, E actually has a look of. This is supposed to be an exclamation point. She has a look of recognition on her face, especially when you say that it's quite rare. I think what'd you say? It was quite rare for him to be found here.
Yeah, it's unusual, something like that. Yeah.
Unusual.
Yeah.
So actually, Esmeralda, she looks at you and then says, "Actually, I don't know if I should say this to a civilian, but all right. So this cannot leave this room. Do you understand?
Goes without saying. Yeah.
Otherwise, King Darian is gonna get a little PO'd. All right. So, you know how Tartec, our beloved city, is a little bit conservative, especially when it comes to the how should we say, indoor and outdoor action with the men and the women.
Yes, I know.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure you know as just as well as I do that there are certain places, particularly in Lowtown, where one can skirt these rules and regulations as one desires.
I would know. I live there.
Oh, you live there. Okay. Well said. At any rate, I'm sure you also have realized that the rules don't necessarily apply to King Darian, correct? Considering that he does have an all-female brigade of Imperial Rangers.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, Esmeralda says very discreetly, in recent days, King Darian has, let's just say, been inviting certain visitors into the castle after hours. Very few people know about this. I am probably one of the few. Ranger Stena looks very intrigued because this is news to her. Esmeralda says he's been inviting, shall we say, certain high-class working ladies up to the castle late at night in order to, as he says, experience what it's like to live the decadent lifestyle of the normal person. And so this has been happening for maybe the past month or so, on rare occasions. And usually it's just a few select members of the guard know what's going on, and we let the women in and out. And they're usually gone by morning. However, this is the first time I've seen a man up here. And I don't know where he came from or who he is, but it reminds me of those women we've been letting in from time to time.
So, not sure how to ask this question politely, but in your knowledge, do you ever suspect that our king swings the other way?
Both rangers are like, wow, what a thought. They look at each other and say to themselves, we have no idea. We would assume that he does it, but we don't really know. And then Claudia looks at you and then says, Lester, maybe King Darian likes getting his bum diddled. She says, Lester, maybe we should start calling him Darian the Diddler. And then she looks very proud of herself for making that joke.
Yes, thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you for that comment. Let's try to keep it somewhat professional here.
So, how do you want to approach the situation now?
Well, I think we need to talk to King Darian.
All right. And so the rangers ask you, how do you want to do it? We can try to ask for you, or you can try to talk with him yourself, or we can just stand back and if things get out of hand, we can support you. It's up to you. You're the professional.
Yeah, maybe let me try talking to him one-on-one first.
All right.
If you just want to stand by, he might. I feel like he might be a little bit more comfortable. Maybe if it's just one-on-one, there's not a lot of other people watching.
All right. So they say, very well, we'll stand over by here, and if you need us, we'll be there. And then Claudia says, I'm here as well if you need me, Lester.
Okay.
All right. So, if you want him, you can move closer to the king. All right. So, how do you want to go about this?
Well, King Darian, first let me say that this is, I realize this is extremely poor timing, with celebrations and everything like that coming up in the next couple of days.
I'm glad you understand that, my boy. The life of a king is never as hardest as it is before a big holiday, like Immortality Day. It's the day I became immortal,
It is. However, just because someone's immortal doesn't necessarily mean they can't be injured, and I apologize for not inquiring, were you injured at all in any of this?
Why would I have been injured finding a random body in my room?
I don't know. There was certainly blood, and it appears that this fellow here was injured. Just asking out of concern.
Okay. You can see that Darian appears to be hiding something, and you notice that he appears to be sweating a little bit, and his collar is very tight around his neck. If you want to, take a look at your character sheet, and you can make a check. I'll let you take a look at your skills. Which check do you want to use? Which skill? Like, you can look on your skills on the side. You can try to perceive something, or you can try to, use your insight. Which one do you think you want to do?
I guess what's the difference between insight and perception?
Insight would be more like you have you can kind of figure out or understand how someone is thinking, and perception is what you can actually see.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just look at perception. Let's do that one.
Yeah. Okay, give me a roll.
With D20?
Yeah, d20. Okay, yeah, 16. Alright, you can see that King Darian's collar is buckled really tight, and he appears to be hiding what might be a wound around his collar.
Okay. Oh, well, I just asked, Your Highness, because if you were injured, how should I say this? It's been my experience over the last, well, actually yesterday, in fact, that there's been a number of poisonings involved, and if you were injured, it's probably important to seek proper medical attention. This is, after all, your big day, or well, close to your big day. You wouldn't want to miss it if you were ill or anything like that.
Poisonings in my city? Is it serious? What type of things might happen if one is poisoned by these poisons that you speak of?
There was just, for example, yesterday there was a case of a orangutan that became extremely disinhibited and destroyed numerous parts of the city after a suspected poisoning.
An orangutan in my city? How come I'm always the last to know of these things?
Well, I just do not want to see the same thing happen to you, sir. So, I do happen to notice that, is that a trace of blood I see on your neck there?
King Darian claps a hand to his neck and says, and then finally he looks at you up and down. Alright. And so he puts an arm around you, and then he takes you over here. And then says, alright, listen. You seem to be a man of good character, Mortimer LeFoe. Or whoever you are. You are a man of good character, correct?
I do my best, sir.
And you are a discreet man who understands the kingly troubles that continuously plague me on a day-to-day basis, correct?
Well, I don't know if I could fully understand the weight of your responsibilities, but I can try.
Nobody could, indeed, very well. And you said that there were poisons, and there was an orangutan, and tell me, what kind of, how did these poisonings come about?
I'm currently working on that. I have a few hunches, though.
Alright, well, you've examined this poison before?
Yes.
Alright then, well, what have you found?
It looks not too dissimilar from the wound on this victim here.
King Darian is silent for a moment, and then finally he pulls down his collar, okay? And on the side of his neck you can see a nick, almost as if a dagger swept by it. It's not really a deep cut. It's more like a dagger swept by his skin, okay, or just barely missed his skin. But there is a nick, and it kind of looks like a fairly deep scratch, okay. Not much blood, but it looks like it's something like kind of the wound you could make when you cut yourself while shaving.
Sure.
But you do notice that the edges of the wound have turned a bit blue.
Ah. Your Highness, I take it that this is not something that you received while shaving.
King Darian looks at you and says, "Is this serious? Am I gonna die? I can't die, I'm immortal. It's not supposed to happen."
Okay, Your Highness, you're going to need to level with me and tell me...
"I need my coffee!" screams King Darian. "Where's that Captain Dinkus? Tell him to hurry up." Ranger Stena goes out to go check on Captain Dingus. Okay?
Okay.
Alright, and so he comes back to you and says, I'm immortal, I can't die. Sorry, what were you saying? God,
I was asking how you got the injury, Your Highness.
Ranger, Esmeralda, and Claudia are kind of like creeping closer, and you can hear them whispering, we'd like to know too. Okay? And so King Darian looks at you up and down.
Yeah, because if it was just supposing, hypothetically speaking, coincidentally, if it was the same kind of reagent that caused the orangutan to become deranged and killed this fellow, then it would be bad if the same thing also occurred to you.
King Darian lets out a very loud sigh. Alright, there's one thing. Let me just look at your character sheet for a second. Okay, you've done a pretty good job of persuading him, I think. Your persuasion skill is a bit low right now. But I am going to ask you to make a roll because you've already said a lot of good stuff, and so you feel like he's kind of close to telling you the truth of what happened, but not quite there yet. Give me a roll to see if you can push him over the edge, okay?
Which one? D20?
Yeah, your D20. Okay, anything you roll will have 1 automatically added to it. You rolled a 12. Okay, so that's actually 13. Alright. Okay, so you rolled a 13. And so finally he looks at you. And then he says, alright, my boy. You understand that as a king, I am plagued with pressures every day. So much responsibility, particularly as Immortality Day comes closer. And just because I am immortal does not mean I am immune to the pressure and the strain of my kingly occupation. You can understand that, correct?
Yes, I think I can understand that.
And you understand that I am an unmarried man, correct? I have not yet found the lifelong partner that I so desire to accompany me on this lifelong tenure of immortality, correct?
Yes, I can understand that.
And you also understand that I am very most definitely, most abjectly a man who has an eye for women. Do you understand that?
Yeah, yes. Yes, I understand.
And you also understand that in Tartec, we are a conservative society and do not abide by improper relations before marriage. However, you and I both know that there are certain low segments of society that engage in prostitution and the like, correct?
Yes, that's of course.
Now tell me, my boy, a just king is not one who rains down hard upon his subjects, correct? A just king is one who seeks to understand the mentality of the populace.
Those are fine words, Agnes.
Indeed. So, while I, King Darian, could go about demolishing the terrible prostitution that goes on in my city, I have instead decided to take another approach and experience this decadence for myself, to experience the mentality of the common person. Can you understand that?
I definitely can understand that.
Indeed. Because by experience, I can learn to understand, and I can truly become the just king that we need to lead us forth into a great age.
I admire your creativity, Your Highness.
Now, there appears to be you notice that there appears to be a bit of a contradiction in his words here. What do you think's the main contradiction that you just heard?
He's a horny dude.
He's a horny dude, yeah. But he specifically said that he he was only into women, right?
Right.
But
But you can read between the lines.
between the lines, yeah. So how do you want to bring this up? Because it looks like something that King Darian's gonna gloss right over.
Right.
You need to try to ease this info out of him, and you're gonna have to make another persuasion check to do so. Okay? Because you can tell he's still sort of not telling everything. He's hiding everything behind a lot of very elaborate language.
Right. Right. Well, before we do that, let me just say, like, Your Highness, it struck me while you were talking that this approach, this sort of experiential approach to understanding, might also apply to things that you do not necessarily approve of.
Indeed. You perceive much, Lester Mortimer LeFoe, whatever your name is.
So in order to fully understand the people and how they think and operate and stuff like that, you would have to experience things that you find distasteful.
King Darian claps you on the shoulder and says, "You truly are an intellectual. Very rare in my kingdom. You should work for me. You are working for me, in a sense, now, correct? Very good."
So that would mean, for a man such as yourself, who would never think of doing things other than, let's say, what nature intended, you might have to get outside your comfort zone.
King Darian scratches his beard and nervously scratches the wound on his neck a little bit, and then says, "Where are you getting at with this, boy?"
Well, for example, for a man such as yourself, given the mores of our kingdom, solely one woman to a man would be fine. Correct?
Correct. I think.
However, in order to fully experience life to its fullest, perhaps you would get to experience 2, 3, more women at a time. Is that not correct?
That's not a bad idea, I think.
Yeah, and what about women of different sizes, shapes, ethnicities, that sort of thing?
I believe it could help me understand the decadence of my kingdom better, yes.
Young, old?
Yes, young, old, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. You seem to have confused him in your words a little bit. But yeah, keep going.
How about, does it matter the gender? I mean, male, female, does it really matter when it comes to understanding? Because there are people that engage in, homosexual behaviors, even though you don't approve of it. It's still part of human experience.
Indeed, it could help me potentially experience the deepest depths of sin in my kingdom, the king slowly says. Okay, so you've done a very good job of leading up to this. So now roll me another. You're gonna do another persuasion check, okay? And so you've done a very good job of leading up to this. So the number you have to beat is quite low, okay? So let's see if you can roll higher than it.
Is it a D20 again?
Yeah, D20. Yeah. Whenever you make these general rolls, it's always a D20. Okay, so very good. So you rolled a 19. Okay. So basically, the way it works is that prior to this, when you rolled your D20, you only rolled a 12, and in order for him to fully divulge the information, you would have needed to roll like a 15. And then now, because you did such a good job convincing him, you would only need to beat like a 10. Okay. And so you rolled a 19. And so King Darian finally seems like he's going to tell the truth to you. All right? And then he finally claps you by the arm and says, "All right, my boy. Once again, this does not leave this room under pain of death. Do you understand?"
Understood. Right.
All right, well, the way it happened was this, okay? You know that man over there? He's really expensive, and he is a true seller of sin, the worst of the worst. I wish to know my enemy so that I may understand him. Do you understand?
I understand. Kind of like going undercover. Right?
Absolutely. We must go undercover so that we may unearth the true sin that lies beneath the blankets. No, wait, not the blankets. The streets.
Between the sheets.
Between no, yeah, yes, whatever. But anyway, this man, he is Hemingway, the Star Gigolo, they call him. One night, 700 gold, a true purveyor of sin, a true peddler of smut. Anyways, I wish to understand this fatal enemy of my kingdom, so I asked him to come up here last night. And so he came up here last night, and those are his shoes under the bed. All right? And so what happened was I was busy understanding his sinful ways so that I may better serve the people. Do you understand? Am I making sense? Right. So this was all last night. It was a truly instructive exercise, and now I believe I can become a better king, because I understand the true depths of sin under the sheets. No, in the kingdom. You following me?
I follow.
Well, this morning, the shall we say the study of sin was continuing. And then a most devastating attack occurred. He pauses for breath. And then continues. And then he points over to the window and then says, "Go look at that window." So you can go take a look if you want to. Okay, so you go look at the window, and actually the blood trail kind of leads up to the window as well. And you notice that the window is actually slightly ajar. And as you peer out the window, you see a grappling hook attached to the side of the castle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it is a grappling hook right here, and I'll draw it for you right here. It's a grappling hook, and then leading down, and so you're kind of on like the, one of the upper floors of the castle, and the grappling hook leads down all the way to like the forest grounds of the castle as well. Okay, you can see it leads all the way down, and you can perceive that the kind of the serrated hooks of the grappling hook attached to the window are actually in a similar style to the brass knuckle that you found earlier. It's a similar ornate style with like flowery inlaid kind of corners and rivets.
Okay.
So King Darian comes up to you and says, "All right, you see that hook, lad? Well,
Yeah.
in the early hours, as the sinful study was continuing, we suffered an intruder. A man dressed in black somehow managed to climb these walls, open that window from the outside, and then came up behind us as we were engaged in a true study of the decadence. And he proceeded to lunge at me with a dagger-shaped object. I believe it was a dagger. And I only barely ducked away in time as the dagger sped by my neck. That's how I got this shaving wound here. Now, my good friend Hemingway, the peddler of smut, he is a true decadent individual, but I will say, when it came time to roll with the punches, he decided to let loose with the fisticuffs and defend his king, as he should. And so he launched on the offensive and started battling this unknown assailant. And the two of them wrestled back and forth for a while, and it was truly violence. And as you know, I tried to help out, but I was perhaps overpowered. Give me another roll right here for Eye of Deceit.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So when the king says that he was overpowered and that he tried to help out, his eyes dart nervously to the bottom of the bed, and you get a feeling that when all this happened, he went and ducked under the bottom of the bed and hid.
Okay.
Anyways, my boy, so the peddler of smut and the assassin were lunging at each other, and there was lots of clattering, and I tried to help out, but the man was truly a monster, and he was too much for me to handle, and so there was a lot of back and forth and punching and shoving, and then I believe there was a fatal stab, and then the man, the assassin, seemed to be injured, and he limped away, and then climbed out the window and jumped off. And then, of course, I came to the aid of my good friend, the peddler of smut, but I believe he succumbed to his injuries, and therein he lay on the floor, dripping in a pool of his own smutty body fluid. That sounds a bit wrong now that I think of it. But therein lies the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me, Tartec. He pauses for breath and looks very exhausted at having told this entire story.
Wow. You've had quite a morning, Your Highness.
Indeed I have. Quite the morning indeed, and once again, keep it on the down low, as they say in Lowtown.
Yes. Have you, Your Highness, talked to the wizards about the injury that you have?
I have not, should I?
I'm thinking it would be a good idea. I was just about to go see William myself because I was examining a sample from the orangutan from yesterday, and it was quite similar to the wound that your friend Hemingway had here. It had some similarities anyway. I think it would be a good idea. I don't think you need to give him all the details, but I think it would be important for him to at least look at it for your safety.
All right, King Darian says. I'll do that right after I've had a moment to decompose and have my morning coffee. Where is that stupid Captain Dingus? I need my coffee. And then so finally, he's been gone for a while. Finally, you have the one and only Captain Dingus returning with the coffee. Okay? So you have Captain Dingus coming back inside the room, and then he comes back in with Ranger Stenna, and then he's got like a kind of a plate with a sizzling hot mug of coffee on it, and then he walks up and delivers it to the king and says, "Your coffee, my liege." And then King Darian takes it, gulps it down super fast, and then says, "Oh, my God! I feel so full of energy, so full of life. I could really go for a power fuck right now." And then the two rangers are like, "King Darian!" And King Darian says, "Nothing I say here shall leave this room under penalty of death." And then Captain Dingus shakes his head slowly and then says, "King Darian, I'm sorry for this, but I really need to leave. I need to depart on that mission to the Tartec territories that I was supposed to venture on this morning. Let me know how this investigation goes." And then King Darian says, "Oh, very good, Captain Dingus. Go, go, go. And while you're on your way past the kitchens, tell them to prepare another pot of coffee for me." So Captain Dingus nods and ventures off. He exits the room and leaves to go on a trip to the Tartec territories, where he will perhaps encounter a character known as the Wayfarer and meet an untimely demise at the hands of a dragon, as seen in our previous Dungeons & Dragons campaign. But anyways, That's enough about Captain Tinkus. And so, you are left here with King Darian, who is positively sizzling from all of that caffeinated energy. He's almost got like some kind of heavenly halo, radiating immortal power. Alright, so you're here right now, and you're here with the ladies. Do you want to tell them what just happened? Claudia does come up to you and ask,
So, is Darian a diddler, or does he get diddled?
It's a good question. While we ponder that, would you mind going over and grabbing the grappling hook in the window?
right away, sir. And so she goes over and then pulls out the grappling hook, and it's a long, long, long grappling hook, and she unravels it and then slips it into her bag of holding. And I am going to make a note of that on her character sheet. So inside the bag of holding, she's now got one grappling hook that once again seemed to come from this territory, Neva. It's got the same design as the knuckle duster. Alright? So, there we go. She's got it. And now what do you want to do? So if you want to, you can fill in the ladies, or you can choose not to. You can be discreet. It's up to you. You might want to tell Claudia though.
Yeah, maybe we'll tell the Rangers everything. Other than to say that King Darian was injured this morning by an assassin that came through the window.
Okay. All right. So you tell them. Okay, go ahead.
And tell him that it'd be important for him to go see the one of the wizards to take a look and see if this injury that he's sustained is poisonous in any way, because you suspect that it is.
All right. Very good. And so Ranger Stenna nods, and then at that moment, she goes over to kind of readjust the chalk line around the body. So I'm just going to draw that right here so that they, have a good idea of what exactly happened in the crime scene. Yeah. And then Esmeralda nods and says, "All right, if you find out anything more during this investigation, you can talk to me. All right, I realize King Darian's not always the easiest man to speak to, but I can be your liaison here. And if you want to, I can take you to the wizards. You can speak with William yourself and Wanda yourselves. I don't know if Wanda is left yet, but William should be ready and free at this hour."
Okay. Yes, that would be much appreciated.
All right. So, have you done everything you wanted to do in this, in the king's Sinley bedchambers?
I think so. For now, I think that will be fine.
All right. Very good. So, right now you have unlocked a few new journal entries. I'm going to show them to you. You have unlocked some information on King Darian. King Darian IV, Tartec's immortal king, or so he says. His Imperial Rangers acquired the so-called potion of immortality for him a few years ago, a mysterious substance known only as coffee. And since then, Darian's gained quite the zest for life and power, throwing lavish Immortality Day celebrations each year and pushing hard to expand Tartec's boundaries. At the moment, Darian's approval ratings are up within the capital, but only because he decided to lower taxes on a whim 5 months ago. People outside of Tartec generally hate him, especially in the territories that have been consolidated under his rule. Most people will agree that he's a tad better than his father, though, which isn't saying much since King Darian III was an outright despot. Apparently, King Darian's also into experimenting with gigolos. Who knew?
I like the picture that you found of him. He looks like an evangelist in one of those huge churches.
Yeah, he looks like a first grade putz, pretty much. All right. So this picture will be in your journal from now on, and you've unlocked another one. I'll show it to you. This is Hemingway, the Star Gigolo. All right. This guy was supposedly the crown jewel of Mother Metheny Ann's stable of gigolos. His clients were exclusive and expensive and went as high as King Darian himself. He died while defending Darian from a would-be assassin and left a very dashing corpse on the rug of the kingly chambers.
Oh, looks kind of like Jesus in that picture.
Yeah, his pecs are out of control, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last one that you've unlocked is going to be Ranger Esmeralda. Yep. Ranger Esmeralda, or E as she prefers to be called, is one of the heads of the Imperial Rangers and a former leader in King Darian's all-female guard. She seems like a down-to-earth lady and told us to let her know any info we might uncover on the King's assassination attempt. I'd much rather share our intel with her rather than Small Dong or Darian, to be frank.
Okay.
Alright. So, you have unlocked some info, and now Esmeralda is taking you to see the wizards. Okay? And I think we're going to stop for now. That's a good place to call it quits for today.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what did you learn today? Give me a recap.
Well, things are not quite what they seem within the in King Darian's court. He has creative ways of understanding the goings on of his kingdom and justifying that to himself. He's not averse to batting for the other side, if need be, in full understanding. He has an interesting relationship with the people in his guards, who know about his goings on and have kept things rather secret.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an element of I guess international sort of intrigue with this grappling hook and the knuckle dusters that were found that are suggestive of someone from the Neva. I think you
Yeah, Neva. It's a territory near the south of Tartec.
They may have been of someone from that region may have made those.
Yeah.
And
What did you learn about the would-be assassin?
Yeah, well, that person had come through the window, and it's not clear what that person was trying to do, whether trying to assassinate Darian or just just Hemingway. But if it was Darian, then it's part of you
Part
can
of a
probably
plot,
understand.
maybe. Yeah, and you do know that Hemingway kind of grappled with the assassin a little bit and ended up ended up potentially wounding the assassin or doing something to get him to go away.
Yeah,
But unfortunately didn't do so well himself. And then there's this poison that's been floating around.
yeah, the poison which is was on Hemingway's body as well as the king's neck, which
And
perhaps is
and
the orangutan.
Olivia, the orangutan.
Yeah.
Yes, so the plot thickens, as they say.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh, Hemingway died a valiant death.
Died a valiant death protecting his liege.
His man card has been awarded.
The Hemingway, a true done a lot of service to the kingdom, helping King Darian understand the ways of the common people, and died protecting his king.
Yeah, true patriot,
A
apparently.
patriot should be awarded a purple medal, a purple heart.
Yeah.
All right, so I am going to stop the recording just now, and we can pick up the story next time.
So